We've greatly enhanced our crowd and community system to create the most believable city in any open-world game to date. The city's streets are bustling with crowds of people from all facets of life, all living their lives within a full day and night cycle.
We're going to be talking about Cyberpunk 2077. We're going to be talking about the lore of the city, the size, the possible size of the city. We're also going to be taking a look at the districts. We're going to be taking a look at what's going into the development of the game itself, and a large portion. There was a large sum of money that was devoted to the research and development of building the city, the building Night City. And we're also going to be talking about there's the 50-minute gameplay. No, it wasn't the 50. It was a shorter trailer that you could see an actual map in the rail system, the train system. And so a lot of people on Reddit, and I'm going to credit them, have really zoomed into that thing and recreated the map so that we could all read it and see what's going on that map. Now, keep in mind, when we look at that map, this map is... I think that the lines are just for the train system. It's not showing all of the ins and outs of the streets and alleys and things like that. It's also not showing how the city goes vertical and how it could go actually underground, and we'll talk about that later too. But let's go ahead and talk about Night City. As we all know, Night City, first of all, if you guys are following Cyberpunk 2077 religiously, like I am now, but you're not going to learn a whole lot from this video or from this live stream. You're not going to learn a whole lot. We're going over published articles and things like that, and information that's been out there for a while to get us all caught up on what Cyberpunk 2077 is, its development, its news, and things like that. And once we get all caught up, we'll be there waiting with on pins and needles as new information starts to come out, and we'll be reporting on all that new information. But we want to get kind of caught up first. We want to get kind of caught up on what I've been missing this entire time, because I have not been researching this game, but it's been out. Cyberpunk is not new, so it was a board game and some other things. So let's go ahead and go over some of the lore that's been created for Night City, so we can get an understanding, because they're not going to scrap all this for the Night City that we're going to be playing in 2077. They're going to keep most of this, definitely all this lore and stuff like that. But the city is going to be definitely modeled after the lore as well. So let's go ahead and dig into Night City's lore. The world is broken. Megacorps manage every aspect of life from the top floors of their skyscraping fortresses. Down below, the streets are run by drug-pushing gangs, tech hustlers, illegal brain dance slingers. The in-between is where decadence, sex, and pop culture mix with the violent crime, extreme poverty, and unattainable promise of the American dream. Night City is the Free State of Northern California. It is located in the west coast of the United States in the Del Coronado Bay. As of the year 2020, it is said to have around 5 million inhabitants across its many boroughs, and in 2077 was voted the worst place to live in America. Sounds like a place I would love to visit, right? It's the central location, the pen and paper RPG series, Cyberpunk 2013, 2020, and version 3.0, and the upcoming Cyberpunk 2077 video game. Okay, so the history of Night City starts with Richard Knight. Night City was the brainchild of businessman Richard Knight, who became dissatisfied with his experiences in managing corporate construction projects as part of his company, Halsey, Ferris and Knight. Sorry about that. This led him to break off and form his own company, Knight International, with the end goal of creating the ideal city. Situated in Del Coronado Bay, the city was originally going to be known as Coronado City, and Richard Knight envisioned it as a utopia in which cities across the country could look up to as the gold standard. After the collapse, many of the megacorps also looked at creating such a space in which crime and poverty were non-existent, as well as the laws that impeded their sometimes unethical work. By 1992, megacorps Araska, EBM, and Petrochem had all invested heavily in Coronado City. Knight purchased many of the rights as well as large swaths of land surrounding the Del Coronado Bay from Petrochem to secure the land for the new city. By 1993, the construction of the city was well underway and the bay had been dredged and Upper Peninsula had been extended. The existing residents of Del Coronado had been relocated to a new area as old downtown and the central hub of the city, where the corporations were based, would be the new downtown area. The Mob Wars. After Richard Knight's death in 1998, the city was renamed Night City in his memory, after which several different groups vied for control. Local mob figures battled with the corporations, resulting in anarchy in several sectors, and the police force became ineffective against such groups. By 2005, the mob had control of the city's infrastructure and the corporations, who had no desire to govern, retreated back to their corporate strongholds and suburbs. The time between 2009 and 2011 were known as the Mob Wars. The city had grown to be incredibly violent, with murder and gang activity at an all-time high. It's unclear whether the corporations attempted to deal with the mob, but it's unknown that the mob was bad business for the megacorps. In one fell swoop, heavily armored Arasaka paramilitaries took to the streets to deal with the mob, after which they were effectively defeated. The corporations placed puppets in the local government and started a policy of cleaning up the war-torn city. The homeless problem grew out of control when new laws stated that anyone without finances to renovate their home would be removed. The affordable housing of the city had been taken over by Corps troops, displacing hundreds of residents. By the year 2020, the mob wars were long over and the city had become a relatively peaceful place, with the downtown area being policed at all times. However, the dangers still remained and the scars have not yet healed. Weapons are commonplace in day-to-day lives, and it would not be out of the ordinary to see a gun next to a briefcase on the sidewalk. What's really cool that I noticed in the 50-minute gameplay is that there are different levels of health insurance and things like that. So what we've seen when V was rescuing that high priority person who was kidnapped and to be harvested for their implants, when they removed the chip, it stated that this was a high class person, and when the ambulance or the paramedics, when they showed up, they had armed guards. They're armed paramedics, and you could see like someone like maybe V might not have that kind of luxury. So when you're hurt, you might not have an ambulance show up, a paramedics show up with guns to protect your life by means of lethal force, and also the health quality might not be as good either. So there's definitely classes that you can see that's in this game, and I wonder if like the police force, if you have to pay for protection as well, like the paramedics. So if you have a high class, if you're a high class person, you get really good police service or security services. But if you don't, if you're homeless or if you're living in the slums and you got like a mediocre job, or maybe you're a criminal, maybe you don't get any police service at all, or if you do, it's just one guy who just got hired, or one guy who's not really good at his job to protect you. Who knows? So I would really definitely, maybe that's already confirmed, I don't know. I've really just started doing a lot of research on this, and I have not gotten to the bottom of the barrel just yet. So we've got the different districts that are in Night City, and let's go over a couple. There's a lot here that are part of the cities from like previous versions of Cyberpunk, but the ones that we know for a fact that are in Cyberpunk 2077 are shares some districts in common with the traditional layout of Night City, With some exceptions, the city is divided into 6 districts, each with their own environment. And we got City Center. It's a commercial district containing tall skyscrapers, home to many of the game's corporations. Then you got Watson District, which I believe they're in there as well. It's an Asian-influenced, rundown building once owned by corporations, home to immigrants. Then we got the Westbrook District, which is a Japantown, home to wealthy elites. And I think that at one point in time, you could see like what looked like Chinatown in the gameplay there. Haywood. Growing gangs largely Haywood is growing gangs largely Latino, but also a wealthy district as well. And then we got Pacifica Slums, full of gangs, and then Santa Domingo is an industrial district. Now, I immediately, when I saw the trailer and everything, I started thinking to myself, what is this map going to look like? How big is the map going to be? And does it need to be big? We've got big maps now. We've got the Red Dead Redemption 2 map, Witcher 3. And one thing we know from CD Projekt Red is, they have DLC, and I'm usually against the DLC for what these companies are using DLC for. But what I saw from The Witcher was an amazing addition to the game, and it did not look like a cash grab. It didn't look like they were holding back stuff just to sell you a half-finished game disguised as fully done, and then sell you the rest of it later. Which I know there's a lot of companies out there that do that, and I think you know which ones they are. But their DLC for Witcher 3 was absolutely amazing. So I can see that happening with Cyberpunk 2077 as well, where they sell, when it's time for DLC, we'll get more of the map, we get more places. The map has been described as being more vertical than it is big radius-wise. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. Let's see here. Witcher developer. First, let's talk about this amazing thing here from that they received $7 million from the Polish government. Witcher 3 might be a not-so-distant memory, but Cyberpunk 2077, the next game for CD Projekt Red, is slowly appearing on the horizon, especially considering that Poland's National Center for Research and Development has shelled out a staggering $7 million. That's $30 million to them for research and development, although they hadn't confirmed that it's for the urban modern Cyberpunk 2077, but it is. It actually is. So we get a little bit more information on that in a couple of different articles. I've got links to these articles down below if you guys want to go check them out. So this one here talks a little bit about it. As covered last year, Polish government is partly funding several proposals from CD Projekt Red. In total, the Witcher 3 developer has been granted roughly $7 million to realize 4 game development goals, including cinematic feel, seamless multiplayer, animation excellence, and city creation. So $7 million has been pumped in from the Polish government to do those things right there. And what's interesting is seamless multiplayer. They said it's not going to have multiplayer at launch, but they are working on it. It is in development, but there is no solid promises that we're going to have it after. They're looking into it. They're developing it. We'll see where it goes. But $7 million to do those 4 things there, and city creation is partly is part of that. So one of the biggest things that's important to CD Projekt Red is the city. It's got to feel real. It's got to look real. It's got to have things to do in it. It's got to feel like it's living and it's breathing, and you're not going to be bored. It's not cool to have a map that's just big and nothing to do. So they're going to put things in here to do. And when they were talking about the size of the map, and a lot of these articles are old, we're just trying to get caught up on information here. So here's some statements about the size of the map. Recalling what was said ahead of the Witcher 3, level design coordinator Peter says about Cyberpunk 2077's world that it shouldn't be big. It should be enough. It's hard to put an exact number on the world size because the city is so much more vertical this time around. People ask us how big the game world is, and it's a really tricky question. First and foremost, it's very hard to measure because The Witcher 3 was pretty flat with landscapes and mountains where everything could be observed from the top down. Cyberpunk and Night City are very vertical. So there are a lot of opportunities to introduce depth to your exploration. So in terms of size, I'd like to repeat what I said a couple of years ago when we were talking about The Witcher 3. It shouldn't be big, it should be enough. And I love that statement. I absolutely love that statement. That is amazing. Because he's 100% right. I mean, we could have a lot of space, but what are you going to do in it? I mean, having a lot of space it could be boring. I mean, with multiplayer, it could be kind of fun, having a lot of space with not a whole lot. But they're releasing this as a single player game. So having a lot of space and nothing to do could get kind of boring. And from what we've seen from that 15-minute gameplay trailer, there is a lot of things that we can pick off from that, which I am definitely going to do. I'm going to look through that because you see V start off in her apartment and she goes in or goes out and you can see like this big structure that she's in. It's like this gigantic condominium, and it has like this micro it's like a micro city inside there, and they said that it can go way up, and there's lots of things, lots of places to go into. You're not just going to have a bunch of locked doors and stuff like that. Now I wonder what the consequences are going to be for trying to open up somebody else's apartment door. And I wonder, because I would imagine we could, if you could be a techie, you could easily open up somebody's door. So I wonder if they're going to be waiting in there, shoot you, chase you down. Maybe the police get called and you have to worry about that. But it would be nice if we did have that option to open up the doors and get into a little bit of trouble and see what's going on inside. Maybe break into people's houses, apartments, when you watch them leave, and you can go on inside. So that would be pretty cool. Night City holds 6 districts, another article reads, but I can't give you an exact number in square meters because no one counted this yet. Also, this is tricky for an urban environment. Night City has lots of buildings, and these buildings have floors. You could have 120 square meters of space, technically taking up 60 meters squared of space in a tall building, and we will have many of them explorable, he says. Each floor can house a lot of activities, each floor. And we saw how many floors were in that gameplay where V walks out and you could take a look at that micro city that she's living in. Floors stack, he says. The Witcher 3 was in a way much flatter. The activities were scattered. Here, the world can be huge, but it can be huge upwards or downwards. So it looks like we're going to have a lot of underground as well, as looks like not confirmed, but the way that sounds like we're going to have multiple layers. We're going to have the below the surface, and then buildings that skyscrape all the way up that you could go into. And that just sounds amazing to me. I think I would rather have that than a huge map that would take you 30 minutes to cross. I don't know how you guys feel, but that to me sounds more interesting than having a big map. Let me know down below, guys, what you think about having a condensed massive map that has explorable everything, right? Or not explorable everything, but sounds like there's a lot to do. And $7 million is being pumped into this from the Polish government for research and development on, building the city and the landscape and things like that. Part of that money is for that. I would much rather have the condensed version, most definitely. But it also has to be big enough to be able to, because you got cars, they're fast. You don't want the player to get into a car and start driving around and then realize, oh, I'm at the end again. Well, let me turn around. Oh, I'm at the end again. So there's got to be a balance. It's got to be big enough. I would say a good sized map that it's not entirely too big, but one that I thoroughly enjoyed being in, that you could get to one side to the next really fast if you tried. But if you didn't, if that's not what you were trying to do, there was a lot of places to go. Is Liberty City, the Grand Theft Auto Liberty City map, was a good, decent-sized map. It wasn't big, but it felt like it was big enough. It had a lot of different districts in there as well, and some underground stuff too. So Liberty City is a good map, and I think this, if you ask my opinion, it might be the same size as Liberty City, but it's going to skyscrape up and it's going to go down below. There's going to be I want to be able to get lost, in Cyberpunk. I want to be able to get a little bit lost, and knowing me, I'm definitely going to get lost. So it says here, a previously revealed gameplay demo for Cyberpunk 2077 showed a good bit of the game, including some of the multi-level interiors. A driving segment also showed off a good chunk of very different areas, but it isn't clear if the player moved through a single district or between different ones. Nevertheless, the game is already showing off a lot of space for unique activities, and based on what we know now, I believe he did go through multiple districts. I don't think he was moving through a single district. And we've got a picture of a metro map, and it seems to be like the metro map for the rail system or the train system that he was in the trailer. And we're going to take a look at that, and that's this map right here. Don't worry, we got a clearer version thanks to somebody on Reddit who I'm going to give a mention here in a second. But this was the map that was in one of the trailers, and it shows City Center right there. And then I believe at one point in time, didn't they say they were in Watson, the district, in the 50-minute gameplay? I can't remember. I had to go back and look. Maybe I'm also wrong about her being in City Center when she walked out of her apartment, but I do believe at one point in time they said they were in Watson. I'm sure you guys will let me know down below. But judging by how big City Center is, you got Haywood just right over there, and I think that they definitely did drive into multiple districts in that. But let's go ahead, and I want to credit this person. This person is the Six of Spades. This was 7 months ago that they did this, so you can see I'm late to the game. 7 months ago, the Six of Spades, the Six of Spades recreated the map. Now, we can't see this one too well either, but thankfully, he also did a black and white version, which we're going to take a look at right now. Here's the black and white version. Now, this one we can definitely go into and we can read. But we're going to have to go back here because if you look at Pacifica, it's all in the red. I believe it was in the red. Yeah, see, it's all in the red here on the map. So I don't know if that's a place you can't go to, or if they said you could go anywhere from the start. So maybe that is just danger. Maybe the rail system that they're taking does not travel to Pacifica. And if we go back, let's go back and see what was the deal with Pacifica. Pacifica is slums full of gangs. So what I imagine is that in Pacifica, this rail system does not travel there. It just stops. Maybe it's just too bad of an area, too bad of a neighborhood, and the rail system absolutely will not travel into there. So maybe that's super, super dang dangerous, and you have to go in there by your own means, and the rail system just completely stops there. There are a couple other ones that are on the red that you can see in there for some reason or another. So maybe those are also, maybe you can't travel there, or maybe it's just the dotted lines the rail system doesn't travel in. But let's go ahead and take a look at this. Really isn't a whole lot that we can go off of, but you can see like different streets here. And what it's not showing us, though, it's not showing us the verticality, the verticalness of the city. I don't know my words. It's not showing the city going vertical, and it's also not showing things that are down below. And why is that? My opinion is because it's not going to show that because the rail system doesn't go up. It doesn't go below. And these are all just things and areas where the rail system is going to stop at. And I think these streets that you can see on there might be stops that the rail system will actually stop at. So I believe these are stops and probably doesn't represent every street that's in the game. But you can see here, Graduate Row, Pigment Way, Pacific Manor, 20th Street, Blackthorn Street. So really the names doesn't really stand out to me, but somebody who has followed Cyberpunk for a very long time might recognize some of these names in previous Cyberpunk lore. But if you do, please comment down below what you guys know. It'd be interesting, super interesting to hear. They did also comment on that Reddit page that there's a lot of bird names, parakeet, hummingbird way, and things like that. So a lot of people think that maybe some of these are just placeholder names, and they're not. It's possible that none of these, or not all of these, are going to be permanently named this way. I don't know. I think it's possible that they are permanently. I mean, it's right there in the gameplay, and I think a lot of the gameplay has been. I think it's pretty much done at this point. They're probably bug fixing at this point. It is going to come out this year. I really truly believe it's going to. The funding, like they have to show what they accomplished with that funding, with that Polish government. And I had it up on the screen. I'm not sure if it mentions it here in any of these articles, but they did have a time limit. Right here, all the applications mention a timeline from January 2016 and January 2017 till June 29th, 2019. The development goals must be reached within this time frame, implying that Cyberpunk 2077 should be released somewhere in the first half of 2019. Of course, there's a possibility that these deadlines will be extended if requested. Now, I'm on the other side of, I hope that they do, if needed, extend the deadline. I hope they delay this game if needed. I'm not going to get mad if they go, hey guys, we really want to make this a really cool game. Don't you want to play really cool? So we're going to have to delay it for a little bit. So let us delay it, and we'll make sure that this is 100% what you guys are, wanting. So we'll release a really good product. I'm all down for that. I hope and pray that they do need that. They will do that. But it does sound like, and it looks like, based on looking at the gameplay, looking at the trailers, looking at the things like there's some developers that are going back home at this point. If you follow their Twitter, there's some people that are just like, hey, job's here, is done. I'm going home, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, the people are definitely getting more laxed and going off and doing other things. So it's possible that we are getting close to the release date. They are very secretive about this game, but it's very possible we're getting towards the release date. But again, I don't want to talk about the release date too much, because expectations and then them getting stressed and cutting corners and releasing it because everyone gets upset that it's going to be delayed. But there is a deadline of sorts here from the Polish government by June 29th of 2019. So I'm excited. I'm not going to bank all of my excitement on the fact that it's going to come out by then. But somebody left a comment on my YouTube channel on my last Cyberpunk 2077 video, and they said that that it would be smart for them to release in 2019, that they believe that they're creating this for PS4, Xbox One, and also next gen, right? But they want to release it on the PS4 because, and this person commented at a very good point about how many units of the PS4 sold. I think it was like, what was it? Correct me if I'm wrong, like 90 million or something like that. I don't know. Maybe that's completely wrong. But the point is that if they wait till next gen and release it early on as next gen is pushed out, like the PS5, the Xbox 2, whatever they're going to call it, if they wait until then, they're not going to sell as many copies. Right now, the PS4 is in record number homes. And if they release it on PS4, it's going to sell like crazy. And that's another reason why I think that they might be in a hurry, because they want to release it on this generation of consoles. Because if they don't, they're going to lose a lot of sales. or at least it'll be slow sales, right? It'll be slow. If they release it right now, it'll be boom, like millionaires overnight, even more than what they are. I mean, it'll sell like crazy if they release it on the PS4 and Xbox One. But I understand that if they do wait till next gen, it's not going to sell that much right away. And we all know that like the first week counts, right? So that's the news there on that. But if you guys have anything interesting about the map that you know of on here, see, we got City Center here, we got Watson, we got Haywood right over here, and then something really cool, Orbital Air Space Center. So I wonder what that is. Orbital Air Space Center. And there's a lot of hovercraft vehicles in the game. They said somewhere that they weren't going to have any flying vehicles in the game, but I see a lot of hovercrafts. So if you could comment down below to help us out. I don't know if they're going to. I'm pretty sure we're going to be driving hovercrafts because you see them all over the place. See them in the trailer. So hopefully that's the case. I do hope so. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got for Cyberpunk 2077, the map and things like that.